All right. Friday NFP London Open session. Okay, that's the discount array, the BC on the daily chart. And we just moved away of that one a little bit in here. In terms of liquidity, we still have a little bit left up there. So that's interesting how smooth it is. Previous day's high, rather sharp high, but still Basel liquidity will be resting above that. The thing is, we are basically in a consolidation ever since the previous day's morning session, and because of that, I would say we are kind of likely to continue with that consolidation. We are likely to continue with that consolidation and probably consolidate until the NFP later today. So that's kind of how it seems to be. But yeah. All right. So yeah, we do have some smooth little pool of sell-side liquidity right here. So now putting things aside and just sticking to what we have in price right now, right here, at this moment. What makes sense versus what does not make sense and stuff like that. So let's see. One more time on the daily chart, because if we look very closely, we have a volume balance here. This volume balance is not necessarily there forever. Or not, actually, this will be there forever. What am I talking even about? This volume balance will definitely be there forever, because it's already done. And as we can see, price tapped into the almost consecutive encroachment of that volume balance and then broke lower a little bit. Then it broke lower a little bit. It swept politely the partial liquidity above those relative equal highs, which is it's reasonable to expect that they will come back for that at some point later. So yep. And there we go. So we got a busy, nice busy that lays over top of a quadrant, or the daily busy high. So that's a high probability busy by definition. But right to the left of it, we have relative equal lows, with the low on the right being slightly higher than the low on the left, which makes this technically a high probability candidate to be overtaken in theory. Because we are in this large consolidation currently, just going sideways, it's quite tricky to tell whether it will go for that or not. And my line in the sand is or will be the CB right here. So this CB I want to watch. If it's actually bearish and if it's actually gonna be pursuing lower prices here, it should not breach the, especially it's important because this PDRA was formed at a key level, right? So it's somewhat important. But yeah, pre-NFP session usually tends to be tricky. So unless something is super obvious, it's probably not necessarily worth pursuing, right? We'll obviously see, but that's kind of how I view it right now. With the current structure of things, this does look a little bit too smooth, nonetheless. So the sell side seems to be the way to go. So far, I really like the reaction off of that CB. Lower half being respected and price displacing away from it. That's ideal. And if that's the case, it should have no issues, no problems of just running through that busy, that blue shaded box, and laying a body below consecutive encroachment and or lower. That would be technically ideal, and that would be almost equal with running or very likely running those relative equal lows in here, apparently. But yeah, this one needs to give way if that's the case. By the way, note how this price swing started off of upper octane of the daily busy in here. Perfect touch. Then price started rallying, market structure shift, inversion for value gap, rallies, reaccumulates, breaker, rallies, another reaccumulation, rallies, makes a high at the volume imbalance, fails to reach the consecutive encroachment, then displacement lower, shifts the market structure potentially, then returns back into CB, and now if it actually made a turn around here, it should be pursuing those equal lows. It should be pursuing those equal lows next. And That would be kind of like the idea. But let's see, because we are kind of like in between those levels here, in between key levels, I'm kind of like willing to wait and see what it does and how it does eventually. That would be something for me to weather out. By the way, all right. So I'm logged in the other tab in here actually. The account balance 48,968.5 didn't change. Mm-hmm. Let's tap into the ES market here. But same thing, turbo consolidation, omega clean buy side though on ES. Like what the hell? All of this buy side here is way too smooth and way too clean. Way too smooth and way too clean. All right. What's my plan? I mean, for now, I want to just get a feel for it here. I do suspect the lows here though. That's kind of what I'm looking right now. Until it fails, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm kind of looking for those lows to be taken out near term. Not necessarily as a trade idea, but just to see whether and how they pursue sells a liquidity like this, which is very obvious and close to the price after we reach some premium raise. So it would be logical to attack that sell side, right? Not that I'm bearish, I'm not. I'm rather favoring higher, but still having this type of radical lows, it's a good measuring stick. So right now we already see that price could not reach into the lower half. Might be though. It couldn't reach to the lower half. Now it displaces higher. This is not like a little run up. This is displacement, and it takes short-term high like this. So this SIBI now, in my mind, would have larger chance to act as an inversion for value gap actually, and potentially attack higher. What would that be, right? I mean, that would be probably this alt high, because that's basically the only thing that we've got here with this structure without zooming out. So that would be the next obvious drawn liquidity in my mind, from this inversion for value gap to this high, which gives around 19 handles, let's say, of potential range to the upside. Respectable amount of range. It's not much, but it's like a little scalp type of potential, and that's kind of what I would expect from it now. All right, so I abandon the idea about the relative lows for now, and my focus is at this alt high and the inversion for value gap being respected. So far, price tapped into it nicely, and it showed a little bit of willingness to continue, and that's kind of what I would expect from it now. As long as we don't give way into the lower half of this inversion for value gap. It should be rather fine, right? It should be rather doable to take that out. But yeah, again, let's see, right? Let's see what it does and how it does. But at the moment, my attention is up at this old high, and I'm trying to keep it rather narrow. Do you think last day high will hunt? It might be like at some point later today. I feel like it's quite likely. I don't know if it will be right now for long open session. That's a little bit hard to tell, but definitely it's in realm of possibilities. I do like those equal highs here a lot, and this high here. So this is way more in the cards, I would say, near term, but regardless. How do you deal with losing streak? Well, that's a good question, because currently I'm under a losing streak. I'm in a drawdown, and I'm kind of like fighting to get it back. And how do I deal with it? So generally I try to like deleverage. That's the first thing, right? So I need to I try to risk less. Also, I try to trade less at the same time and only focus on opportunities that I can really strongly see that they will be in my favor. Like everything will be in my favor, and focus on that type of setups, possibly. And generally, just don't focus on the fact that you need to make money now because you are in a drawdown. You don't need to. It can take time. I already am taking my time here. I'm in a drawdown since 3 weeks at least at this moment, and I've been having a hard time though, navigating, seeking for my winning trade, even though I was more or less be able to outline some market movement. The way I was executing was rather poor in a sense. Sometimes unlucky, sometimes poor, sometimes just a little bit errant price action got me out, and it happens, right? The most important thing is not to rush and give yourself the real chance to recoup it, right? So to have a real chance to recoup it, you have to be able to follow your model properly, and to do that you need to be without emotions. Yes, I mean, this account is still surviving. I can show you. This is the account, same numbers, no trades taken today, so there is really nothing there, but that's the balance. And yeah, I'm still working on this one, trying to recoup the DD that I made, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now. I have about or roughly $600 left as my drawdown, so that's kind of like my risk side of things. And yeah, I'm trying to risk no more than 125, but really getting closer to $100. Like that's my like the line in the sand for the risk. I don't really want to risk any more. I can risk less, and that's how I will try to recoup that drawdown. It may take me, I don't know, it may take me 2 weeks, 1 week, 1 month. I don't really care how long. I just care about following the rules and the model and getting better at executing with it. And yeah, regardless of the outcome, as long as I'm doing the right things, I'm content. Even if I lose sometimes, right? I mean, losing actually means that I did something wrong, but nonetheless, I guess you get the point. But yep. So yeah, generally, it seems like this bad boy doesn't want to give back any of this range. And if that's the case, those relative equal highs that were hidden in the previous day's portion of price action are, in my mind, getting more likely to be potentially attacked on the upside. But let's see, we are turning into this premium volume imbalance in here. Why premium? Because we were below it, now trading into it. So what I would like to see is, yeah, first of all, as we passed or crossed the consecutive encroachment area, I would like to see no more bodies being closed below the 50%. And I would also like to leave this range with a little bit of displacement, with a little bit of a fair value gap. That would be kinda neat to see. But yeah, regardless, we've just taken alt high here, right? We've just taken alt high here. So I'm not necessarily willing to rush anything and enter a new long position at this moment before it didn't or doesn't show me some more clues or ideas that it wants to keep on going. Yeah, NFP day market is engineering liquidity. That's true, and that's why we are consolidating ever since yesterday, New York lunch, basically. And until NFP, we are likely to see that type of price action. Can it run a little bit? Probably yes. But is it very likely to be like that? Probably not. So that's kind of the mode of operation that we are under. So yep, we'll see. So yeah, I really like the fact how it did it here, while it placed a wick that went into the lower half a little bit, and then the bodies respected beautifully the consecutive encroachment of that wick and sent it higher. Then this was the inversion for value gap that was used there around the old high, and now we are kinda at the crossroads, right? It could technically continue towards the buy side here, but it needs to keep on following the bullish order flow here. This last up candle in there is also like a bullish breaker because it made a low, high, lower low, then quickly went above it. So this is a bullish breaker in itself. That's kind of like a discount array. Plus we have this volume imbalance, which we went above the consecutive encroachment, so it should not be closing in the lower half. That's also like a discount array potentially. And I guess we have this long wick in here. That's also like a discount array right now. So we have at least 3 around this area in close proximity, and the bodies should respect those. And what I would anticipate is a continuation off of that, if it's good, obviously. So right here, right now, I'm thinking about continuation to the upside, and we'll see how it will go though. All right, let's see if we close below it. That's a little bit concerning because yeah, we don't have anything really in here else than this inversion and the busy here back down there, right? So if it cannot held its thing around this area, then it's likely to drop off lower. Yeah, I mean initial rally in here, initial run on the buy side, and now price is slowing down. So let's see what it wants to still do. Currently, as it's closing below consecutive encroachment here, I feel like a retracement is underway, and if that's the case, then this inversion for value gap busy might be the area to retrace to. Feels like though. Well. All right, but the low of the volume balance is holding for now. So let's see. Buying 500, 29,500. All right, so you are expecting a deeper retracement and clearing the sell liquidity in here. Fair enough. But yeah, let's see. Let's weigh out what it does and how it does. I suppose the last line in the sand within this structure would be measuring the body on the last up candle here, which is the breaker, and placing the mean threshold of that as the line in the sand. So if price starts closing below it, then it's probably gonna have a deeper retracement, at least. All right, so this is like the last kind of like the bit last area where it could or should rally if it wants to continue towards the buy side here. But yep. Nothing really in terms of entry, I would say. Yes, yes. I mean, we are also approaching the 330. 330 is also quite important. Algorithmic time. So we might see some speed up during that time window. All right, so yeah, the price got a little bit sloppy in here, not gonna lie. It got a little bit consolidated inside of this range, kind of choppy. So I would, I would kind of like to leave this range first and then have more of an opinion on what it may do or may not do. Yep. So it really went to Shishi here. It does just it didn't. Oh, I mean, it just does nothing for the last 20 minutes. It did nothing. So just consolidation. That was kind of like the run for this the session so far of this busy consequent encroachment here. Inversion for value gap, alt high taken, and anything after that is just banging around, doing nothing really. And let's see. There's the line in the sand. This is the line in the sand. The mean threshold of the bullish breaker. Low, high, lower, low. If we breach that on a closing basis, then it doesn't really bode well for the continuation on the upside. We'll see, obviously, but that's kind of how it looks like right now. Yeah, I mean, classic pre-NFP Friday. And here we close below the mean threshold of the breaker, and that honestly makes me abandon the bullishness near term. And I expect now a potential retracement. Where it's is the most logical area to see it retrace, yeah, obviously is this inversion for value gap coupled with this busy. That's the near term type of idea. And if we respect the upper half of that, then we could be turning around there. But yeah, I'll be rather careful with what it does at this moment. So yeah, I guess it's easy to get lost inside of this type of market condition. Which yeah, that's kind of normal on these type of days. Well, I mean, this looks like somewhat of a bull flag in here, right? This impulse pricing higher, then price consolidates a little bit at a premium array and loses its steam a little bit. So maybe on that regard, you would or could expect it faltering a little bit. But at the same time, it's quite choppy price action in terms of like every candle is overlapping, so it's fuzzy, right? It's really fuzzy. And I would like to see some imbalances being formed, inefficiencies being formed while price is gyrating, and not just spend time like this, because if it does this, then it's not really what I'm looking for. That's not my model in by any means. Well. So yeah, I mean, the current price action here doesn't really bode well for any like higher or lower. Like it could go either way from here, and it doesn't really offer much of depth in terms of what it wants to do right now. So probably it's just willing to bang around until it doesn't, I guess. Something that I have in mind at the moment is if you take this impulse leg low to the high and then try to project it to the upside from the high and basically make like a 1 standard deviation higher. It's projecting the level at 29,650 basically, and that's still not taking the previous day's high though, but it definitely clears the buy side liquidity there. So if we have an impulse like this and then consolidation, straight consolidation, if it's still bullish and if it's still going to continue, then that's kind of a rough measurement on where it might go to after it resumes going higher, right? Because usually consolidation can occur in the middle of the price run. So if that was the start of it, this impulse pricing higher, and then price went into consolidation, we would consider that the midpoint of the run, and then we would project another same size impulse to the upside. But yeah, all right. So it's still just going sideways inside of this little range in here, and I really don't have any other idea than this projection. After we leave this to the upside, that's what I would potentially expect, but yeah. Total drawdown on the final account. I mean, it's roughly 48, 360, 70, something like this. So I have technically like 600 left, plus minus $600 left until the total drawdown will be reached. So still a little bit of room, but it's getting uncomfortable for sure. No payout taken yet. Right, so we'll be approaching the 350 to 410 macro. So let's see if that offers any idea. We left 1, 2, 3 relative equal highs within this consolidation. All right. So I'm considering if it would, for example, drop into this inversion for value gap first while leaving the buy side in here. Would that be an idea for the setup? Potentially. But it would need to respect the upper half very, very well. So that's kind of the thing. But yeah, regardless, it's NFP Friday. The carnage will be at 8:30, and yeah, probably the New York AM session silver bullet should be better at that point already. After the NFP, we might see some volatility in the forex. I assume, or I suspect, because the majority of the week was very, very, very calm, and really nothing happened in dollar index, euro, or pound, like literally nothing. So I suspect that they are, or they were kind of like sparing the movement, the large move for the NFP actually. And so that's where I expect some large volatility. And indices may also see some measure of a pop, I would say. But yeah, we'll obviously see. Nonetheless, the price is just consolidating around here, doing nothing. We are entering the macro in 1 minute. So let's see. My expectation is if we could drop into this inversion for value gap and respect it well in the upper half, that could potentially bode well for a continuation uh, towards the buy side liquidity here and maybe some above. But again, that's quite a tricky call on pre-NFP Friday, I would say, and we would need to leave this range during or shortly after the macro. Otherwise, if we don't, then I would say, yeah, it's pretty done, and I wouldn't do anything with this session anymore. So So we are definitely closer to the end of the stream in here, but let's see. Exactly 350 price drops into the inversion for value gap. Let's see if this can offer any sensitivity around here. That will be bullish or considered bullish. And if that's the case, relative equal highs buy side, and that old buy side here would be some points of interest on my side, on the upside. But again, this should not be breached in the lower half on a closing basis. It can wick into the lower half, but it should not close there, right? Let's see. All of this consolidation in here is like a one block of a balanced price range in here. So all of this is very, very, very balanced out. So the moment we would go above it, that should be bullish. By the way, we also left a fair value gap that's bearish in here. And that's an interesting one because it technically lays on the low of the volume imbalance in here. So it might be high probability by nature. Potential bullish inversion for value gap here, by the way. So I will change the color. So if we would or could close above it, so we react off of the upper half of the inversion, then we close above this little fair value gap at 350. Then I would suspect that price should offer some measure of rally higher, clear out the buy side and pursue the higher level of buy side, I suppose. That's kind of like the if then type of idea that I would have, but it needs to respect the upper half and then quickly shoot up and close this out completely. Let's see if there is a volume balance. There is. All right, so it would need to close above this here specifically. And because this was a consolidation and price left it with an inefficiency, if it's bearish, this inefficiency should never be closed. This should act as a breakaway gap if it's bearish. So that's kind of like also a filter in here, that if it's actually more likely to seek lower prices, it should not close. But if it will close, then it's more likely that it will seek higher prices. That's my logic behind it here. It's 354. We are respecting this inversion for value gap well so far. And now the question is, can we go above this inefficiency here? Because if we can, that's a potential setup idea that I would like to consider during the macro. And the stop around $100. Targeting 1 to 2 roughly. So yeah, close above it. Inside the silver bullet hour, I'm entering at the high and I'm assuming that it should rally. It should not give all, I mean, it should not close below this inversion for value gap. If it does, then I'm probably wrong and I will collapse the trade. But I would assume speed element because this was nicely respected in the upper half. This inefficiency should have never been closed if it was bearish, but it was closed. So I'm using this as inversion. Beautiful, smooth relative equal highs right there. and it should have like no issues just smashing right on through that. And that's what I expect. If it has issues, then yeah, then I don't want to be in it. So let's see. It has to run now. It has to show displacement. It has to show energy and leave it to the upside. That's what I expect. That's what I want to see. Otherwise, this will just cut my interest. All right, so the buy side is in striking distance at this moment. Anytime soon, price should or could pursue that. Well, these relative equal highs are way too smooth, right? So really, like, it should have no issues running them unless they will manually intervene and prevent that, I feel like. So it should have really no issues of running the buy side liquidity here. All right, so it's taking its time in here a little bit. It looks like it may want to return back into the inversion for value gap here. So far it failed. That's good. All right, it's stretching, so it should be taking the buy side now. There we go. There we go. I like that. I can take one off here. And I need to modify the orders. The buy side is at 627. So 627 would be my like, or slightly below, let's say 625 would be like ideal type of target. Up there. And let's see if we can get it though. Let's see if we can get it within this rate, while also having the stop loss at break even already, right? But yeah, because we close above it, because we left this range on the upside, this balance price range, I don't want to see any deep retracements into that. I want to see it either run continuously, or if it's sloppy, then I'll pass generally. But yeah, took one partial there. That's good. I like that. How it's stretching. That's amazing. This is the premium week. Consecutive encroachment now. That should not be breached. All right, just let's take one off at the high here for the banter. Can I change this? Oh well, I can. Okay. So the final original target was roughly here. So let's see if we can get that. Two partials already taken inside the buy sell liquidity pool above those equal highs. Still potentially a little bit of more room to climb. So let's see if we can. If not, then it's fine. But yeah, that would be like the first step of trying to recoup the drawdown, the DD. So yep. Busy in here, upper half ideally, if we see respect that. This consecutive encroachment of that week, that's another line in the sand, and the old relative equal highs. These are kind of like the three PD arrays that I'm utilizing. I can trim the stop loss a little bit tighter and just let it be, let it run. Okay, it closed below this busy though. Not something I like to see, but it dropped into this weak consecutive encroachment. So I don't want to see that being breached on a closing basis. And the last line of defense, those equal highs here. If we close below that, then it's probably done. But yeah, I already was able to scale 2 times. So that's at least positive there. All right, that's a little bit problematic here. That's a little bit problematic here when it trades into the small little premium inefficiency and it rejects like this. But I guess just let's see if it can climb. So basically this is like managing the trade right now. That's good, that's very good in here, and it should continue higher, and that's what I'm focusing on. If it doesn't, then obviously that's that will be an issue, but until it's proven wrong, I just trust and or expect that it should continue in my direction. So this fair value gap now should act as somewhat of a reclaimed bullish fair value gap, and the upper half of it should be generally respected well and send highs price higher. And what I'm aiming for specifically, these two relative equal highs right there, that's my target, and above those we have this fair value gap, which is also like a good draw, so it should reasonably be able to draw up into it. If it's good, obviously, if it's good. If it's not gonna go there right now, that's also fine. I don't mind. But yeah. So I was able to scale out around $100, I feel like. I think around $100 back, with the potential of taking almost 200 back. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. I mean, could I or should I aim for like another 10 to 15 handles higher into that fair value gap? Maybe I could, and maybe that wouldn't be too bad at all, but you know, we do form some measure of relative equal highs at this time. At this time in here, so theoretically, if we bump above them, taking one off wouldn't be bad either, and not requiring that ideal target. So I might even go with that. So again, this block of back and forth price action, up, down, up, down, up, down, this is a little block of a balanced price range in here by definition. So if we can leave that to the upside, we should never breach the midpoint of that block of price. All right, let's see, it's preparing to make a run. And because it built up some equal highs in here like this, if we can snap above it, I'll be inclined to take my last contract off and not even require the full target here. All right, looks like we are approaching that. So let's see, for a good measure, how far can we run. We close above it as a good sign. Can we get a follow through? Okay, let's wait. Let's see this candle here. Can it turn around? Right, so the next one should smash higher aggressively, because this was a small little immediate rebalance right there to the balance price range. So it should smash aggressively higher. If not, then I just will close it. But there you go. I got my final target. Beautifully done. And this was a trade for today. Well, I mean, feels like a release a little bit, because I haven't taken a good trade for quite a while. I feel like it's been like 3 weeks. I haven't taken like a solid setup, and this wasn't even like a big deal in terms of range, but yeah, I was struggling. But nonetheless, 183.5 made back puts me on 49,152 even at this moment, which is definitely a good end to the week for me. And yeah, being done already is also feeling good, because I don't need to wait for the carnage at NFP. And just for completeness sake, let's see if the price will gravitate into that fair value gap that I assume like a final draw or final target for this price run. And yeah, that'll be it. Inversion fair value gap here, into inversion there, entered, price took out equal highs, one taken off there, let it go, deeper run, one more taken off there, some consolidation, retracement. It closed above this balance price range, immediate rebalance to its high. That was indicative that it should run. It did, and I would expect it should continue into that bearish fair value gap, and that's basically it for my expectations for the long open session. And I would be content with that, or seeing that. So nonetheless, thanks for watching. I wish you guys a pleasant weekend, and see you next week with more action and more drawdown recuperation, hopefully. But yeah, regardless, thanks for watching, and see you guys next week, Monday. Bye bye.